So I'm so glad everybody can be on this call today for Frankie. If you're on the call, you know and love Frankie. And I have come to really get to know and love him as well over these last months as we've connected in some of our common passions with dance and also common passions with wellness and advocacy there. So I am a part as well as Leah, who's on this call, and for Frankie. My name is Cynthia Newlands, and just letting you know a little history about me. I am a longtime dancer. I'm 56 years old, started dancing when I was 4 years old, and I've been blessed with an incredible family. And my husband is a singer-songwriter, musician, pastor. Children are dancers and a pastry chef and another entrepreneurial craftswoman and a music composer and a woman who's in theater. So we just have a lot of arts in our family, and we care a lot about artists. And then with my background with dance, it's something that I know is really important for us to have a better understanding about how to best fuel and feed and take care of ourselves. So this talk is to really give you some tips and tools about how you can understand ways to better take care of yourself, but also to introduce you to this community called Health Made Simple that Frankie is now a part of. So we are comprised of a variety of individuals. We have people in the healthcare realm that are doctors and dietitians and nutritionists, people who are physical therapists and athletic trainers, and also in this other artistic spectrum. So we have dancers, like many of you on the call, others who are working on Broadway, some that are in LA, out in San Francisco and New York, others in Chicago. I mean, just around the nation, but also around the globe that are affiliated with us with Health Made Simple. There's also a variety of people, as you can see here. Some are educators, others who are working in the fitness industry, some that are really focused on just their lifestyle and advocacy, and different coaches, wellness coaches. And so again, we're all coming with this common mission to inspire healthy living around the world. And so as we are talking today, I just would like you to think about your own goals for wellness and to assess, where do you stand and what are your aspirations in general. And we have a lot of incredible resources through Health Made Simple. So wellness, one realm of that is nutrition. And that'll be mainly the focus today for us, making sure that we're eating well, making sure that we are having the most optimal times where we're sitting down and getting meals. This is an image of what it used to look like when people were eating some time ago. And it's really kind of the time of the past where people are sitting and having a meal together every night with their family. It's more uncommon that that's happening. Our pace of life is very fast, and we are trying to help people to kind of overcome the only outlet is going and grabbing a quick meal. And what we're seeing is when these results of this fast-paced life, we're choosing fast-paced choices in how to nourish ourselves. The problem is that our food quality is really decreasing now. We have more preservatives, more flavor enhancers, emulsifiers. I don't have to read all of these because you can see those on the screen, but just with the genetic modification and less nutrients in our food, a part of that simply is because of our food processing. But another part is when we're vine ripe picking something, that's pretty rare. Most of the time, things are being picked before they're completely ripe, like a tomato, and then they're gassed and then sent on a truck to be shipped to another location. And so this understanding of vine ripe picking, eating the food as soon as you can within like a day or two to maintain the optimal nutrients. That's why you hear things like, farm to table, and why people are advocating for farmers market and eating local is because when something is transported on a truck or ship that takes a week or 2 weeks, it can lose up to 70% of the nutrients. So we're just seeing a lot of complications in our food quality now. There are now over 9,000 food additives. And so when we're having that much alteration to the original food source and things that are being added to maintain shelf life, it's really causing a lot of problems because we're not getting real food very much anymore. So again, how are you taking care of you? What are your goals for wellness? Are you eating real food? So a part of our advocacy with Health Made Simple is this education, teaching people about what real food is, encouraging people to exercise at least 30 minutes, getting your heart rate up 6 days a week, so you really are getting your body in motion and not seeing some of those sedentary effects that are really running rampant in America today. Drinking water, just really encourage people to make sure you're hydrating. And one real quick equation is to take your body weight, divide that in half, and then that amount of ounces is a good amount of water for you to drink a day. So for example, if somebody weighs 120 pounds, you divide that in half, and that's 60. So 60 would be the equivalence of the amount of ounces for that person. If you're dancing, if you're an athlete, if you're in a hot climate and you're sweating more, then you need to increase that, that amount. We also advocate for rest. And a part of that's rest and like mindful practice and opportunities throughout the day to take time to rest and get away from these screens, get away from these devices, and just have times when you're deep breathing. But the other part of rest is really at night, making sure that you're getting 7 to 9 hours of night to sleep. And that's really quite complicated for many of us who have busy lives. But when we're doing that, it's helping us to have this time where our body's repairing. So when we're talking about food and we're talking about the just effects of food, those that are in America that are listening to this, we have some really sad situations with our SAD, Standard American Diet, is our SAD, our SAD diet. What we're looking at here in this graph is in the red, it's the percentages of death from heart disease and cancers. And on the green part of the graph, it's the percentage of calories from unrefined plant food. So what this is basically showing is there's a lot of different cultures and societies that have been looked at for decades. And this scale is showing that really it's disproportionate, that the cultures and societies in the red that have the most illness and sickness and disease, they actually are consuming the least amount of plants. And the cultures and societies that have the highest amount of green, that are really consuming a lot of plants in their diet, they have very little disease and any kind of the illnesses that we're seeing. So there is a real correlation for consuming more plants. And I know there's a lot of information out there now about plant-based nutrition, plant-based diets, and I don't believe that this is going to be a fad. I do believe we're getting back to the basics of like eating from the Garden of Eden. There was just plants to eat, and so we're jumping back to that understanding and getting all those amazing nutrients from that source, directly from the earth. So Dr. Bill Sears notes that 75% of all disease is preventable. So we're seeing a lot of chronic issues, a lot of things that are occurring from systemic inflammation in the body. And basically, we're looking at, some statistics are showing actually closer to 80 or 85% of the diseases that we're seeing today and illnesses are preventable. And we just need to try to figure out how to maintain that as a lifestyle and not necessarily get people to the level where they're sick and then trying to find a cure. We're advocating, let's build a lifestyle that prevents disease from ever happening. This may be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents, from Dr. David Katz. So there's now more childhood onset of diabetes, different types of illnesses that are happening with our children, obesity. And so it's not necessarily illness and diseases that are only for adults. We're seeing it more and more early in our children, and a part of our education with Health Made Simple is, again, it's education, and how can we educate people from a young age. So we have this advocacy for consuming a lot of plants and eating real food. And so real food is basically that which you know its source. Where does it come from? What does it look like? Well, it probably looks like an apple if it's an apple, but other things that have been processed and packaged and have a lot of things on the label that you can't even pronounce. If you don't know how to pronounce it, then your body doesn't know what to do with it. And so those things have been so processed that it's not maintaining the essence of the food in its original source. And so this advocacy for plant-based, and again, I'm not saying that don't ever eat any type of animal product again. It seems like we know how to get animal products in our diet. We're really failing and falling short in how to saturate our body with plant-based foods. And so that's what kind of the gist of this conversation will be, is helping you to get some ideas and ways to consume more plants in your diet. This is something that I do. I prep my food every day, every week. I will prepare a bunch of chopped up vegetables, and then some of them I'll keep raw, and then some of them I'll also roast. And so that for me is a really great way, like on the left, or for you it might be the other side, with all those roasted veggies. It's a really great way to have some things already prepared. I can put them in the fridge and be ready to go. These are little BLTs, but the B part isn't bacon. It's actually carrots that have been roasted, and it's a really yummy way to use a seasoning. I love this smoked paprika that gives a similar taste, but you can get away from the animal base and just have these yummy little nutrients. This is a picture of a bowl. This is, again, what I do when I roast my veggies. I also will prepare a pot of quinoa or brown rice, so I have a good base grain. And then I also will prepare some sort of beans, black beans, garbanzo beans. Sometimes I'll do lentils, and then I'll have those ready with my chopped up veggies, with my roasted veggies. I'll usually keep some sort of an organic veggie broth as well. And then with any type of seasoning throughout the week, I could do something that's more Hispanic, or potentially something that's more focused on like an Asian flavor with some ginger and tamari. So there's just a lot of ways to season it so you're not getting tired and feeling like you're eating the same thing over and over. This is a fun thing, a salad in a jar. So you have this ability to create some meals that you pack up in advance, and then at midweek, you're wondering, what am I going to eat? Well, you've already made a few of these ahead of time, and how they're packed is on the bottom is the liquid, and then the wet ingredients towards the bottom, and the drier ingredients in the middle to the top. And so that way it doesn't get slimy, it doesn't get all wet, and then you can shake it up and eat it, or turn it upside down, and voila, you have a salad. So that's another one of our tips through Health Made Simple. This is a grazing tray. It's a really great way if you want to give some tips to your children that you're teaching, or families. Just if we see it, we often will eat it. And so this is something to advocate for, getting some good nutrients that are accessible for us and for our kids to have access to. These are little power bites, little nutrition bites, and we can send you recipes for this, but basically this is oatmeal, a nut butter. Sometimes I'll put in dates in mine. I'll usually use maple syrup for a little extra sweetener. Sometimes I'll put in a carob chip or dehydrated fruit, and then roll them up. And I also use a plant-based powder mix that is 100% all plants, and I can share a bit with you about that. So those are really great. I pop them in the freezer, which I have some in the freezer now. And actually, my husband and I went to the movie last night, And I had a few in my purse. And so that's a great snack to be able to, take on the go. So again, with this partnership with Health Made Simple, we have a lot of different organizations that we're working with and partnering with. The Boys and Girls Club of America. We are getting these tower gardens that I'll show you in a moment into those schools and into those centers and clubs, and coming with education to help kids understand where's their food coming from. And now we're seeing, if you're a part of growing, that our kids likely will eat 5 times more fruits and veggies because they're more educated. We also have partnership with Health Made Simple with the Children's Hunger Fund and the U.S. Performance Center that's in South Carolina. We also partner with St. Jude's Hospital, and we're one of the main sponsors of the St. Jude's Marathon. So we really are trying to get our advocacy out there for education and wellness, looking at these pillars of health, and also helping to supply information related to wellness and how we're feeding and fueling ourselves. We also partner with the Juice Plus company. And so this company is one that advocates for inspiring healthy living around the world. So we work with over 20 countries now. I believe it's 24 countries that Juice Plus is accessible. And so basically what it is vine ripe picked fruits and vegetables. And it is taken from the vine, plucked, pulled from the earth, and within 12 to 24 hours, it's frozen. And then after it's frozen, it is crushed. So the entire part of the plant. So for an example, an orange, they take the orange peel, the fleshy part, and the seeds. The entire orange is then processed at a very low temperature where they extract out all the liquid, and then you're left with the essence of the plant itself, but it's a powder. So these are produce powders. So this right here is showing the red and the green and the purple. That's 30 different fruits and vegetables that have been, again, low temperature processed. So you've got like astronaut food that's been dehydrated, but you've got the essence of all of the fruit and all of the vegetables in each one of these. The omegas, they're really amazing because we're seeing now more concern with individuals who are not getting the omegas they need in their body. This comes in both these plant powders that are in capsules, but also these chewables. So I do the plant powders in capsules. My husband loves the gummies, and admittedly, I nip into his gummies from time to time because they're really delicious. And why we feel like it's so important to look at this additional nutrition and supplementation to your diet is because just what I showed earlier, when you aren't getting whole food that's coming from this good natural source, if you're not getting the recommendation of 9 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables in your diet every day, when you're not getting this whole array of all the colors of the rainbow. And the slides I don't have here showing what all the different natural foods the colors do. So if you have something that's coming from the red family, an apple and maybe some type of berries, tomatoes, those help with our blood, and those are really good with doing that job. If you have green fruits and vegetables, those are really good for detoxing our bodies, but also filled with good calcium. The yellow ones, and I could go on with all the colors, but all the colors have different jobs. And so that's why it's so important to eat a spectrum every day. So this company is showing that they've now had over 38, I believe it's 39 now, published research studies. Institutions that have taken these plant powders and tested them to see what are they actually doing when people are saturating their bodies with these plant powders, or through the omegas that are a liquid capsule. So you might have seen in the slide before, it's been done in over 12 countries, and these institutions that are major institutions like MD Anderson, where we've used these plant powders on women who have stage 2 to 4 ovarian cancer. it's been amazing to see the results of what's happened to the women who consume those plant powders and the very little reoccurrence of their cancer, whereas it was over 80% of the women who had a reoccurrence of that cancer coming back who didn't, who weren't on that trial study. So it improves when you're consuming all these plants, all the colors of the rainbow, getting them in your diet every day. It improves your cardiovascular wellness, your immune system is supported, gum health, reduces oxidative stress, inflammation, protects your DNA, and better skin. There's just so many benefits. And I just will give a quick testimony for me. When I started consuming these 4 years ago, I had a place down in the lower part of my left jaw where my gum was receded and I wasn't chewing on that left side of my mouth. I didn't have much tolerance for temperature of anything cold or hot. And about 7 weeks after I started consuming all these plants, what happened was my gums grew back and they started to heal, and I didn't really put it all together. Why was that happening? But then later on, I looked at the research, and I think we have 4 published research studies now showing what it does for teeth extraction, what it does for gum health. And so that's just one area. For me, the other was in the spring. Every spring here where we live, there's a lot of allergy producing plants that are just, releasing pollen. And around every April or even earlier in March, I just would be pretty miserable, coughing and, felt like I had the flu, runny eyes. But for the last 4 springs, I've had 0 results now. And so for me, that's pretty miraculous. Well, why is that going on? It's because when I'm putting all those nutrients in my body is created to be a self-healing mechanism. And as I am putting these good nutrients in my body on the cellular level, my body is repairing. So these are helping with oxidative stress that's happening in my body. They're helping to lower inflammation, as well as the other practices are a part of this. But it's just amazing what we're seeing. And so these studies are showing, and this is just a couple, that brain health at the university in Spain. So these are some of the upcoming studies that we're in the process now of looking at what's happening with those omegas, those different plant oils that are coming directly from a plant-based source. Because many people we're seeing are getting their omegas from a fish base. And so these are plant cold pressed oils, pomegranate seed, raspberry seed, buckthorn, tomato seed, algae seed, safflower. So why, again, that's so important is when we're getting our foods that are coming bypassing the fish, because we're seeing now more mercury poisoning than ever before. We're seeing the toxicity in our fish population, and we're also seeing that our fish, once they're in that processing, can go rancid. Well, this bypasses the fish, goes directly to the algae where the fish get it anyway. And so when we're getting all these omegas that are omegas 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, it's showing that it's improving our health, fighting depression, aids in eyesight, promotes brain health. You can read those. I don't have to go through them all, but basically we're just seeing an incredible improvement. And again, that's through this research, but also from the amazing testimonials that people are able to share about how their health is being improved. So as I mentioned, when we are eating, it's really amazing to try to pack in the amount of nutrients that you can that's coming from a really good solid base of things that are non-genetically modified, things that aren't processed in a way that is adding more food additives. And so I start my day every single day with a smoothie. And it's like this here, these pictures. Sometimes I'll make a green one, sometimes mine's pink, sometimes it's purple. It just depends on what kind of color I'm thinking about having that day. And then it's a way to make sure that you're getting a lot of nutrients packed in. So through our all non-GMO plant powders, basically we advocate for getting these 15 different plants. There, again, it's non-genetically modified. It's all low glycemic. It's full of different plant powders that are really high in protein. And it's a way to add this to your smoothie. So I use a plant powdered, this drink mix. I use an almond milk. I'll throw in a lot of different fruits and sometimes vegetables. Like yesterday morning, I put in avocado in mine. Sometimes I'll throw in, this morning I put in spinach. So you can just really mix them up, and we can send some recipes to you as well for just being on this call. Healthy snacks, that's a really great way to make sure that you're getting good nutrients in your body. And this is something that I really enjoy as a snack. So I'll have a smoothie every day, putting in this plant-based protein, but I'll also sometimes during the day, depending on my schedule, and if I'm traveling, I definitely do it then. I'll just throw in some nut milk, put in my plant-based powder that comes in these really wonderful little individualized packets, and shake and go. And again, it's all low fat, low sugar, low glycemic, gluten-free, vegan, non-GMO. And why we advocate for something that's coming from a plant-based source when you are getting any kind of supplementation, as opposed to something that has whey in it, which is coming from an animal-based source. We're seeing that your cholesterol can increase when you're consuming animal products. We're seeing also the carcinogenic effects and also the inflammatory effects when it's coming from a whey base. So you can get really clean protein from a plant-based source, full of all of these incredible grains that are loaded with lots of good nutrients. So I got today in my diet actually over 60 plants just this morning through consuming our omegas that have a lot of great nutrients there, our different plant-based Juice Plus, the capsules, and then the drink mix, and then all the things that I threw into my smoothie. So those are some of the things that we advocate for to help people get good nutrients in their body. They're all really affordable. They are, when you break down the cost, when you look at if you would juice or try to buy and get that many organic, non-genetically modified fruits and veggies, and either juice them or eat them in a salad or some way, prepare them, the amount of time it takes you to do all that prep, and the cost is really high. We've priced it at over $60 a day just to get that amount, whereas when you're looking at the cost for this, it's less than $5 a day to get those plant powders in and to get the gummies or the capsules, and then also the drink mix. It's, I think, $4.30 a day to get all those nutrients in your diet. Here's a glimpse of the tower garden that I spoke about. We're seeing some really great things happening in different urban areas with gardening, and these towers are being used to help bring in and transform some of the urban areas more into a place where people are growing. And we've seen restaurants that are occupying now areas near them, having this whole urban garden, and then that's the supply that they're using for their restaurant. Here's some images of families and kids that are participating in growing their foods. It's amazing, these tower gardens that only use water. So they're in a 30-inch diameter space, and they only use water. So you can grow them anywhere. You can grow them inside, as you can see here, these inside lights. And you can also grow them outside. Mine now is on my back porch, but as it starts to get colder, I'm gonna bring them in to be able to have something that I'm growing all year round, which is, again, it's a lot of fun, and the sound of the water trickling is really therapeutic as well. So again, with this advocacy of Health Made Simple and all these partnerships of these organizations, one of the main partnerships is through the Juice Plus company. And we have these whole food concentrates that I mentioned. The thing, again, to think about, if you're choosing any kind of supplementation that you are buying, it's really good to know, does it have a food label on it or does it have a supplement label? Because the food label has a standard in America where what they're saying is inside is actually inside of the package or in the container. all of these published research studies in these major medical journals that are accessible, and we have links to each one of those, so we can share that Frankie's website with you. And then understanding that, again, labeling, how important that is. We will be able to share some great resources that we have with our partnership with Juice Plus that has the Healthy Living Revolution. So we've got these free online cookbooks. We also have these other resources that are webinars. Again, all of this is free. It's information that you can listen to, these talks by medical professionals that are sharing education that's topical. It might be about inflammation or diabetes or asthma, or helping you to get good nutrients in picky kids. And so this is something, again, we're advocating about the importance of education, 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 to help us to learn more ways to have this to become a part of our lifestyle as opposed to a fad diet. And then we also have, with the cookbooks and the free online programs, there's also some in-home exercise programs as well. And then lastly, it's just this advocacy for educating at a young age. That's something that we value. There's a Healthy Start for Families, which basically, if a parent or an adult guardian chooses to purchase the plant powders, either in the gummies or the capsules for themselves, then a child age 4 through college can get it for free. So we're seeing a lot of our college age students that are now getting some extra great nutrients in their bodies in this college time, when they're maybe not cooking so well themselves, or their dining commons isn't offering something so great, or families, again, are busy. And so we're getting these really amazing nutrients in our kids. So instead of having Fred Flintstone gummies or chewables that if you eat too many of those, you better take your kid to the hospital, and that is just coming directly from the label, as opposed to all these other options that are these, fruits and veggies coming through Juice Plus. If they eat it, it doesn't matter. They could eat the whole packet. It would just help them really go to the bathroom really well. But it's just something that we're seeing is incredible for our kids to get all those great nutrients. So again, with Health Made Simple, we have this advocacy for helping you to pay attention to these pillars of health, eating more whole foods, drinking more water, having more sleep and less stress, exercising and moving your body. And then the last program that I want to share with you is this detox program. It's a 10-day commitment where people may choose to join us with this group. You can get support via Facebook, independently through Frankie, through those of us who are working alongside with him. But basically, it's shredding some really negative habits of eating some processed foods, and starting to get some good nutrients in your body, and making sure that you have that jump start to health, but also it just kind of catapults you moving into a lifestyle. So we would love for you to consider these offerings that Frankie has, these free solutions. Also would love for you to consider coming and partnering with us in some way, because we're looking to have more and more people come along and help to spread this information, to spread this education, to help people to take their own healthy life responsibilities back, and to not just succumb to the standard American way that we are seeing is really causing a lot of illness and sicknesses and disease, that's cutting way too many people's lives short and prematurely, just not allowing them to fulfill this calling that they have in their lives. And so you're welcome to ask us questions. You're welcome to send information or requests to Frankie. And again, he's now linking arms with all of us that are wellness advocates, that are pros, that are people who are working in this sphere of inspiring healthy living. So we're so thankful that you've joined us on this call. And I know Frankie's ready to share some things about his experience of being with us and linking arms with Health Made Simple.
Okay, work. It says you are unmuted by host. First of all, thank you, Cynthia, for all that amazing information and just filling our minds with so much good things. I feel like oftentimes we fill our minds with not so many good things. So that's good to start our day off with thinking about. As I was eating like an acai bowl, I was like, yeah, get my nutrients, my fruits. With joining this group, specifically with Leah and Cynthia, it's been an amazing journey of just support, love, and community, and consistency, which I feel like is very important with a relationship and in any kind of relationship. For me, why I felt led to like join this group, one is like when I first got food poisoning. Before I got food poisoning, because I was a busybody and like dancing all the time and very much so like athletic, I felt like I could eat anything and just like burn it off and just be like, oh, I can just eat anything. I'm gonna take a dance class and have rehearsal and just burn it off. And that was my thought process for a long time. And I had a quick metabolism. So I didn't really value what I was putting into my body until I had food poisoning and I got an intestinal infection and had to wear diapers for a week. And that was a very humbling experience for me. And so I had to slowly get back into solids. And so I had to start off with soups and going the veggie route with vegan meals and vegetarian meals. And also it inspired me to start cooking my meals more. And so I felt a shift and a change in my energy, my performance, my life in general, compared to when I was just eating whatever I really wanted to all the time. And also I realized I was saving money as well when I started cooking. And also, as Cynthia mentioned, like college life, you're really kind of like helped out a lot so far as like finances and having access to a cafeteria. So once I realized I started saving money, I was like, oh, how is this happening? I was like, oh, okay, I spend $10 a meal. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's $30 versus spending $30 on groceries, and it lasts more than just one day. So I felt like I wanted to like share meals that I was cooking with people who are like young artists and people who are newly independent as well. And meeting Leah and Cynthia has really been a catalyst to go in that direction of like sharing my resources with people. And everyone on here who is on this call knows that I love God and how I'm very much so like God has changed my life, and I want to share that with everyone and not be selfish with that, and share that joy with people. And so the same thing with this nutrition, with this new journey as well, with these resources and these life-changing resources as well. I don't want to be selfish with them. I want to share them with everyone as well, so they can have a life-changing experience as well. So that's my, yeah.
That's beautiful, Frankie. That's so wonderful. Well, we're thrilled that you have joined us and are linking arms together. And there's possibilities for others to join us too. And it's something that not only can help you feel really great about yourself because you are sharing this information that is so life-giving to others, but there's other ways for you to start accruing even an income where you can make money to have your own franchise working with us through Health Made Simple. And so that basically looks like just paying $50, and that's for a year that you get a franchise where you then will have a website to be able to offer these solutions and everything that we talked about, all the teaching, education, just all those webinars, all of the plant-based information, just every part of what we've shared is something then you may want to be able to pass along to others. We'd love for you to use Frankie as a resource if there's information that you have, or questions that you have, or people that you know of that really need to get information about wellness, send them to Frankie. And then again, he's linking arms with others. Or if you yourself want to be able to share specifically with your community, we can link arms with you, because really it's something that we know has got to be shared, and more education has to happen, how we can take care of ourselves and be responsible for these amazing bodies that we have, and to optimally care for them in our body, in our mind, in our soul, in our spirit, in every part of who we are. So that's our heart, is to be educators. Our heart is to share. Our heart is to see others live really, really well. And it comes in a lot of different ways that information can be disseminated. So we just want to say thank you for being a part of this call today, and really excited for Frankie, how you're going to continue to do so much good, and looking forward to supporting you any way that we can. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm trying to plug my phone up. Okay.